In this episode, we travel to the Unova region. Hey, this is GatorX, and it's time for episode 14 of Pocket Monsters, the anime 2019. I'm still struggling on what to call it, but in this episode, Ash and Go are in the Unova region and see an advertisement discussing some ruins, the ruins of the Titan. So they head over there and have an adventure. It's a pretty neat episode overall. So again, gonna discuss everything that's going on. So one funny thing, well, not funny thing, but the first adventure, right? Because what I like about this episode overall is that it is an adventure. It's like a series of different little things. We Indiana Jones now up in here. So the first thing they got to do is obviously cross the desert to get to the ruins. So they need to cross the sand. The sand's too hot though, but they meet one of the new characters for this episode, Kira, and I like this character, but she tells them that using a flying Pokemon is probably the best way to get across the sand. In terms of what's it called, where you have like the paddle, the like a board that you ride and like the something pulling you. I don't know what it's called when you do it on the water, but basically they do that on the sand. So obviously Ash has his Dragonite. Go has a Beedrill with him. Did he have anything else that it's hard to keep track of everything he has. I know he has a Tailo, but he has a Beedrill with him, so that's what they do. So they race across the sand. Well, they ride across the sand, and of course, they have to turn it into a race. Of course, Dragonite goes too far with it. comedy, but they get there to the ruins, and right outside the ruins are a bunch of Darmanipitans, similar to the, what is it called? Relic Castle? Is it called? Yeah, Relic Castle from Generation 5. So whether this is Relic Castle, probably not. It's similar where there are Darmanitan outside. Technically, it's the Unova region in a desert ruins, but who knows? It's a big desert, so maybe there are other ruins. But they encounter one of their Darmanitan. It wakes up, and of course, the solution to beat it is for Go to catch it. So Go gets a Darmanitan, which we see later in the episode. So before heading into the ruins, they do meet an explorer, a very eccentric explorer, which we got. I mean, you know, we got a bunch of eccentric characters here, and he discusses kind of some of the history, or at least some of the lore, basically, of the ruins of the Titan. Is that like the story is that there's a giant Titan or protecting an ancient city, an ancient civilization, which I mean we all know is Golurk. At least we know from various things there's going to be a Golurk in this episode, and of course tying back to Golurk's lore. There is also a symbol which we see quite often, and I didn't. Well, when I first saw it, I recognized it immediately. I'm like, oh, hey, that's the symbol that's on Golurk. So obviously that's what's going to happen. It's not necessarily a mystery. I think it's, well, then again, I mean, is it obvious? It's obvious to some people, but I wonder, well, point is there's a Golurk, and not necessarily a mystery going on, but again, an adventure. So Ash and Go hop into the ruins and start exploring, and they run into a Sandile first, which Go catches, of course. The dumb thing, though, is that Pikachu instinctively uses an electric move on the Sandile, which, you'd think he'd know better, but I mean, you know, ground-type Pokemon. So, some of them don't look like ground-type, maybe. I mean, there's a Sandile at least. So going through all the ruins, there are a bunch of traps, and a bunch of panels that activate traps, booby traps, obviously. And it's a fun little montage where they're just avoiding everything, avoiding a bunch of traps. And eventually Ash ends up in a pitfall trap, classic Team Rocket style pitfall trap, except it wasn't Team Rocket who set it up. And then Kira comes by again to rescue him with her Meditite. So that's pretty neat how she, and at this point she introduced herself. She didn't say her name was Kira until this point. So now we get like the official introduction, and then they stick together. They come to a large central area, and she kind of points out how, yeah, there are a bunch of tiles here. Just don't touch the tiles, don't step on the tiles, then you won't activate any traps. Then they run into some Cophagrigus, which are creepy. See, Cophagrigus, I forget what it was. I know there was another piece of meteor where we saw Cophagrigus walking, and it was really weird because, yeah, it can float, but it can also like walk on it can walk long ways, which is really weird, and it's really weird, really creepy. So they attack the Cophagrigus, and there were some people inside. Really eccentric dude, I forget his name, Color something, and he's got a shiny Psyduck, and he basically mentions that he's a shiny hunter, basically, or that he wants to just catch a bunch of different shiny Pokemon, or only shiny Pokemon. The man wants a living shiny Dex. He's pretty far from it. But I mean, at least he's got dreams. Real interesting though, because we have seen shiny Pokemon in the anime in the past, but a specific shiny hunter basically like this. I mean, that's kind of neat to see to see shiny hunters represented in the anime like this. The side looks cute at least, and it's nice. Then there's they discover, you know, there's a puzzle they gotta solve. That again, hey, guess what? It's a bunch of circles, and it lines up to be the symbol that we see throughout the episode and on Golurk. And then they solve it, reveals the Golurk. Golurk comes out, and it's a giant Golurk. It's about like twice the size of a regular Golurk apparently, and so they decide to raid battle it. It's not necessarily a raid battle in the sense of like not a Dynamax raid battle, more of a Pokemon Go style raid battle in the sense that like, yeah, it's a bigger Pokemon and it's everybody battling. So battle ensues, and it's a pretty good battle. Like I mentioned with last episode with Ash versus Leon, and then on top of that, the one before that actually, Lance versus Leon. It's great to see a lot more action in the anime now. Again, because some of the other encounters we've seen with wild Pokemon, and again, it's basically what we saw at the beginning of this episode. Say with Darmanitan, right? The solution normally is just throw a Pokeball, catch it. Hey, we beat it. And I've complained about that a bit too much, but this one definitely, like, you're gonna need to battle this Golurk. It's crazy. It's intense. And again, a good battle. Words don't do it justice. Gotta watch it for yourself. But it's really tough because it even gets to the point where everybody has to use their secondary Pokemon. Where Ash has to swap Pikachu for Dragonite, and then so on and so on. Everyone has to use their other Pokemon in order to battle, except Shiny guy. He didn't pull out. Yeah, he didn't pull out the second Pokemon. Well, he wasn't really serious about it anyway because it wasn't a shiny Golurk. Honestly, a shiny giant Golurk like this would have been so dope. So obviously, Golurk's a Titan, and what's neat though is Golurk transforms into the cannon form. We've seen this in some concept art previously. I don't think it's technically been canon in any canon in any games, but where Golurk sucks in its legs, sucks in the hands, and then basically turns to a cannon, which Golurk is always pretty neat. I know in the anime it did fly around, like, you know, sucking in the hands and the legs, and then just fire comes out so it can fly around. But it can basically do the same thing to fire out like a big blast, a big cannon shot, I guess. So they take it down, obviously, and Go catches it, and everything basically wraps up. Very nice, very nice. At the end, though, we get to see Golurk just kind of chilling in the Sakuragi research lab, and then we get the stinger of Gengar still being there, because we're gonna see Gengar later on in the series probably. Whether who's gonna catch it, that'll be interesting. Of course they all congratulate Go on catching the Golurk, so they're fine with that. So with Gengar specifically, I'm really curious on who's gonna catch the Gengar, Ash or Go. So that'll be neat to see. That's basically the episode. Definitely enjoyed it. There were some interesting. Well, I like the idea that it was. It feels a little more like, well, not necessarily more, but a lot more. Say like. Well, I mean, okay. It's weird to say this, but let's say, the original anime series, right? That one, the original Pokemon anime series, Indigo League, and going into Johto a bit, it felt like there were more often detours, which again, this whole series being structured the way it is, it kind of feels more so like that, but I kind of like the idea that this one specifically, it's like, hey, let's go on an adventure and explore some ruins and find, this giant ancient Pokemon. So, that was neat. I like the little scene where they're racing across the desert. I've mentioned before though, with when they were in Sinnoh, right, with the Piplup race, where Piplup was racing against Croagunk, right, that it reminded me of, say, the original Pokemon race from the original series, which is something I really like, and I like the concept of people riding on and riding with Pokemon, so that's really, it was just neat to see something like that at the beginning of this episode. But that's basically it. Let me know what you thought about the episode down in the comments below, if comments are still there. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter, let me know what you think. Let me know your predictions for next episode and the episodes onward. I'm not necessarily going to be discussing previews much. I tried it, but I don't know if I don't know. But again, let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below, as well as the videos going on. This one, definitely, I feel like I was able, I don't know. I had fun with this episode, and say with this review specifically. But if you enjoy the content, leave a like, subscribe, all that cool stuff, and I'll catch you. See, I always mess up my outro, but enable notifications. Bye. Bye, guys. Have a good... This has been GatorX. Have a nice day.